Hello, Internet! My name is Grace. This is going to be a video of books to read while you are quarantined. So, if you're watching this a couple years later, or even hopefully a couple months later, in current events, it is the middle of March, and the coronavirus has just been declared a pandemic. A lot of people are actually being quarantined because they have the virus or they're suspected of having the virus, and a lot of people are also just choosing to social distance, to distance themselves in order to stay healthy and stay safe. Because of all this quarantining and social distancing, grocery stores everywhere are selling out of toilet paper and canned goods. I was literally at Walmart the other day, and they're the toilet paper aisle and all the paper goods like paper towels, all that stuff, the aisles are empty. I've never seen Walmart with completely empty aisles, you guys. Oh my gosh, it was insane. The canned goods section is also selling out. It's going fast. We were there the other day and the canned goods section looked almost completely destroyed, but we were able to get ourselves some supplies in order to social distance a little bit. Almost every hour I feel like things change and we get new guidelines. A lot of book festivals are canceled. Just a whole lot of things are getting canceled, and people are trying to work from home, schools are getting canceled. All this hanging out at home that we're going to be doing, I came up with some book recommendations for you guys. Alright, I have some really good ones for you. I looked at my shelf and I was like, oh, which ones would be perfect to read during a pandemic situation? And I picked them out for you guys. Alright, some of them have end of the world scenarios, some of them have lab kind of situations, so anyway, are we ready to jump in? I'm ready. I'm excited to talk about these books. Okay. Here we go. Okay, the very first book recommendation I have for you is Replica by Lauren Oliver. Okay, Replica is a super fun book because you've got Gemma, and then you flip it over and then you've got Lyra. So Gemma and Lyra are two different characters, and so you read the entirety of Gemma's story, and then you flip it over and you read the entirety of Lyra's story, and eventually these two girls' story start to intertwine as you read it. Gemma is a girl, she's kind of sickly. She's been in and out of hospitals her whole life. It starts with her as a teenager, and she's kind of like a lonely teenager at this point because she hasn't had very many friends because of all of her health issues that she's had. One day, she's just trying to go about her ordinary life, and she gets almost abducted. She's able to get away, but she almost gets abducted by this person who claims to know who she is. But then, because of this situation, she starts researching her family and her family history, and she finds out all this stuff about this institute called the Haven Institute, and it's this big secret institute that her dad used to work at, and there's all this conspiracy around it, and so she goes on a journey to find this institute and find out what's actually going on there, and all this crazy, interesting conspiracy stuff. So that's Gemma's story. Then you can flip it over and read Lyra's story. It doesn't matter which one you read first. I personally read Gemma's story first, and that worked for me. You can also read it in alternate chapters as well if you wanted to. But anyway, I just read Gemma and then I flipped it over and read Lyra, and that was just as exciting. So anyway, Lyra is kind of like a medical experiment that has been raised in Haven Institute. Lyra's whole life has sort of been controlled by these doctors and nurses and people who are doing all these medical experiments on her. One day, Haven Institute gets attacked, and Lyra manages to escape along with a friend. They get out of the Institute and out into the world that she's never been in before. She ends up running into Gemma, and their stories who has come to search for Haven Institute, and their stories just kind of intertwine as Lyra's escaping, Gemma's looking for the Institute and trying to figure out the secrets that are going on there, and everything is just kind of intertwining, but each girl kind of has their own story, and each one of the girls uncovers all kinds of crazy secrets about themselves and about conspiracies, and it's just fun and exciting. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat. So, Replica by Lauren Oliver is my first recommendation for a book to read while you're social distancing or when quarantined in the middle of a pandemic. Alright, reading recommendation number 2 is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Alright, Jason Dezen is the main character of this book, and it all starts with him on an evening walk, and he gets abducted by a man in a mask. He gets abducted at gunpoint. He gets injected, and then he passes out, and when he wakes up, he is in a lab. Jason is strapped down to a gurney, and a man is standing there looking at him saying, "Welcome back!" and he's very confused. He has no idea what's going on. He goes through his life from this point on. He finds out that his house is no longer his house, and his family is no longer his family, and things aren't the way that they used to be before he got injected by this person, abducted and injected by this person. And turns out he was sent to an alternate reality. So then it's his journey trying to get back to his real reality. So in the process of getting back to his real reality, he ends up going to multiple different alternate realities throughout this process. And a lot of these alternate realities involve end of the world scenarios, such as diseases that are sweeping the globe, or Earth currently as we know it experiencing another ice age, or he shows up with like just all these crumbling buildings, and there's multiple apocalyptic scenarios as he's jumping from alternate reality to alternate reality, trying to get back to his real life. Anyway, it is an exciting book. Alternate reality jumping, very science fiction, and there's lots of labs, lots of end of the world scenarios going on in this book. So Dark Matter by Blake Crouch is another one that I recommend for pandemic social distancing. Right there. The next pandemic situation book I am going to recommend to you is the Steelheart, or the Reckoner series by Brandon Sanderson, starting with Steelheart, then Firefight, and then Calamity. This is a trilogy by Brandon Sanderson about a post-apocalyptic kind of end-of-the-world scenario. 10 years before the first book, Steelheart, starts, this thing called Calamity happens. A bunch of people in the world ended up getting superpowers. However, with these superpowers came this really aggro kind of attitude. Ordinary people started calling them epics. However, these epics are not nice people. They're angry, they're rageful, they just want to blow stuff up, alright? So there was this group called the Reckoners that formed underground in order to take out all of these epics who were just basically just destroying the world with all of their superpowers. David Charleston is the main character, and he wants to join the Reckoners so that he can take out Steelheart. And Steelheart is one of these epics. Steelheart is an epic that killed his father, and David wants to kill Steelheart. He wants to take Steelheart down. Basically, it's a whole book series. Eventually, at the end of it, they have to deal with the Calamity situation in the sky, and it's brilliantly written. It's very post-apocalyptic. People have kind of moved underground into underground bunkers and stuff because stuff up on the planet is constantly being destroyed and taken over by these epics with bad attitudes. Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. Yes, saving the world from the end of the world kind of story. The very next book I'm going to recommend to you is Middle Game by Shauna Maguire. Okay, so there's these two twins named Roger and Dodger, and they are the two main characters in Middle Game. So they are actually, they were spawned in a lab. Spawned? Is that the right word? They were grown? Created? They were created. There we go. They were created in a lab, and then they were separated when they were little kids. And they don't really remember each other, and they don't really remember that they were twins or that they had this other person. Throughout their life, Roger and Dodger sort of end up having this imaginary friend kind of in the back of their head, but it's the other person, and they have this quantum entanglement situation going on between their brains. And so they can actually kind of talk to each other, like look in a mirror and like talk back and forth and stuff, like imaginary, and they tell everybody else that like this other person is imaginary, and they don't even really know if the other person is real, but the other person just feels super real, of course. So anyway, as they're going, they eventually meet up, and they discover that they each have half of a certain magical ability. And so when they come together, they are able to like do crazy things together, like create massive earthquakes and like stuff like that when they're near each other. So then they freak out and like try to separate. And basically, it's just their story, and it's their story of having to manage each one of them having to manage their relationship when they each have half of this magical ability that causes like massive destruction and stuff. And also people from this lab are also still trying to control their lives and very in control of them, and they want the people from this lab want them to use their magical abilities to do certain things. And basically Roger and Dodger are kind of trying to escape people from the lab and do their own thing and live their own life, be best friends, be in each other's heads, but then like not be in each other's heads, and I don't know, because they get mad at each other because they accidentally destroy and kill a lot of people together. And anyway, it's a whole thing. It's a whole situation. My Middle Game by Sean McGuire is going to be my next recommendation for social distancing kind of situation. The very last book series I have for you guys is actually going to be the Wando series. And I picked this series because the main character's name is Eva, and she's actually raised in a bunker. But yeah, this is Eva. She was raised in a bunker all by herself, away from all human contact. The only human, or the only thing that she's ever been around is this robot, and she kind of studies all these holograms and stuff, and that's how she learns about the world around her, until crazy things happen in the bunker and she has to escape onto the dangerous planet's surface, and she meets all kinds of crazy alien friends, and then she goes on this journey trying to figure out what's actually going on the planet and how she can help. It's middle grade. Here is her escaping the bunker right here when things are going crazy. Here is her and all of her like stuffed animal toy friends that she talks to and stuff in order to survive her isolation. So since this main character starts off very isolated all by herself and escapes isolation eventually and goes out into the crazy world, I think this would be the perfect book to read during a social distancing or isolation type scenario. Hit that like button for me. Also, if you're new to my channel and you have not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button for me because I would love to see more of your face and I want you to be able to see more of my face too. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love you guys. Stay safe out there, wash your hands, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!